Welcome to Vault of 15. Tonight we descend into the darkest shadows of human history, the places where trust is betrayed, innocence is shattered, and evil takes a human face. These are the serial killers whose names became synonymous with terror. Some lured victims with charm and deception. Others struck at random, leaving fear to ripple across entire cities. And a few were so prolific, their crimes numbered in the hundreds. From the mysterious Jack the Ripper to the physician who quietly murdered his own patients, these are the 15 most notorious serial killers the world has ever known. Number 15. Pedro López, the monster of the Andes. Confirmed deaths, at least 110, suspected 300 plus. Region, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador. Pedro López's crimes defy comprehension. Born in Colombia in 1948, López endured a brutal childhood filled with violence and abandonment. By his teenage years, he had drifted into criminality and soon murder. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, López traveled across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. He targeted young girls in impoverished communities, often offering small gifts or promises of work before leading them into secluded areas. His victims rarely returned. In 1980, López was finally captured in Ecuador. Shockingly, he confessed to killing more than 300 children. Investigators confirmed at least 110 cases when he led police to graves. His calm, almost casual demeanor during these confessions horrified even hardened detectives. The most chilling twist came years later. López served just 18 years in prison before being released in 1998. His current whereabouts are unknown. Known as the Monster of the Andes, López's case stands as one of the most disturbing failures of justice in history. Number 14. Andrei Chikatilo, the Butcher of Rostov. Confirmed deaths, 52. Region, Soviet Union. During the 1980s, the Soviet Union lived under the iron grip of secrecy. Officials refused to acknowledge the possibility of a serial killer operating within their borders. This silence gave Andrei Chikatilo the perfect hunting ground. A former teacher, Chikatilo was quiet and unassuming, yet plagued by deep psychological dysfunctions. He prowled train stations, bus stops, and wooded areas, targeting women and children. Once he lured them away, he committed acts of shocking brutality that left entire communities in fear. The Soviet press initially suppressed reports, but whispers spread. Parents warned children to avoid strangers, and commuters traveled in groups. Still, the killings continued. Chikatilo's eventual arrest in 1990 was the result of painstaking detective work. His trial was a grim spectacle. Kept in a steel cage for protection, Chikatilo screamed, ranted, and showed no remorse. Convicted of 52 murders, he was executed in 1994. Chikatilo's crimes shattered the illusion of safety in the Soviet Union and forced the world to confront the chilling reality of unchecked evil. Number 13. Harold Shipman, Dr. Death. Confirmed deaths, 215. Suspected up to 250. Region, United Kingdom. When patients enter a doctor's office, they expect healing, not death. Harold Shipman shattered that trust. Born in England in 1946, Shipman trained as a doctor and built a successful practice. But behind the stethoscope was a predator. Between the 1970s and 1990s, Shipman systematically murdered his patients, often elderly women, by injecting lethal doses of morphine. His motives remain debated. Some suggest he killed for financial gain, forging wills to benefit from his victims. Others believe it was about power, the control of deciding life and death. What made Shipman terrifying was his invisibility. His patients trusted him, their families rarely suspected foul play, and death certificates listed natural causes. It wasn't until a suspicious daughter noticed discrepancies in her mother's will that the truth unraveled. The Shipman inquiry revealed the horrifying scale: over 200 victims. Shipman's crimes made him one of the most prolific serial killers in recorded history, and his betrayal of medical trust reshaped healthcare oversight in Britain. Number 12. Albert Fish, the Gray Man. Confirmed deaths: at least 3. Suspected dozens. Region: United States. Few names in American true crime inspire more dread than Albert Fish. Born in 1870, Fish was plagued by mental illness and violent impulses that escalated into unspeakable acts. In the 1920s and 1930s, Fish targeted children, often from struggling families. What made him infamous was not just his killings, but his disturbing behavior afterward. In one notorious case, he abducted a young girl in New York and later sent a taunting letter to her family describing his crime. This letter, more than anything, cemented his reputation as one of the most grotesque figures in criminal history. Even seasoned detectives were horrified by its contents. At his trial, psychiatrists debated whether he was criminally insane or simply pure evil. The jury decided he was fit for execution. In 1936, Albert Fish was put to death in the electric chair. His story remains one of the darkest chapters in America's crime history. Number 11. John Wayne Gacy, the Killer Clown. Confirmed deaths: 33. Region: United States. Chicago, 1970s. By day, John Wayne Gacy was a respected contractor and community volunteer. He even performed at children's parties dressed as Pogo the Clown. But his cheerful mask hid a monstrous secret. Between 1972 and 1978, Gacy murdered 33 young men and boys. Many were lured with promises of construction jobs or companionship. His victims disappeared without a trace until police searched his home. What they discovered shocked the world. Beneath his suburban house lay the bodies of dozens of victims, buried in crawl spaces and yards. The sheer horror of a killer hiding in plain sight, dressed as a clown, made Gacy one of the most infamous serial killers in history. His trial in 1980 captivated the nation. Despite attempts to plead insanity, he was convicted and sentenced to death. In 1994, Gacy was executed, but his name remains a chilling reminder of how evil can lurk behind even the most ordinary faces. Number 10. Aileen Wuornos, the Highway Killer. Confirmed deaths: 7. Region: United States. Aileen Wuornos was unlike most serial killers in history, a woman whose life story was defined by abuse, neglect, and desperation long before her killings began. Born in 1956 in Michigan, Wuornos grew up in extreme poverty. Abandoned by her parents and raised by grandparents who struggled with alcoholism and violence, she began sex work as a teenager to survive. By the late 1980s, Wuornos was living on the highways of Florida, supporting herself through prostitution. Between 1989 and 1990, she killed 7 men, all of whom she encountered while soliciting. Wuornos claimed each killing was self-defense against sexual assault. Prosecutors argued otherwise, portraying her as a cold-blooded predator who lured men before murdering them. Her most notorious act involved a man she shot multiple times after what she later described as a violent struggle for her life. Whether or not every case was truly self-defense remains debated, but the trail of bodies left Florida in shock. Arrested in 1991, Wuornos confessed on camera with startling bluntness, saying she had no regrets. Her trial became a media spectacle, feeding into the fascination of a female serial killer. She was sentenced to death and executed by lethal injection in 2002. Wuornos's life and crimes remain a subject of endless debate. Was she purely killer or also a victim shaped by abuse and circumstance? Her story has since inspired documentaries, books, and even a Hollywood film, ensuring her dark legacy lives on. Number 9. Ted Bundy. Confirmed deaths, 30. Suspected 100 plus. Region, United States. Ted Bundy is often described as the embodiment of evil, hiding behind a mask of charm. Born in Vermont in 1946, Bundy appeared intelligent, charismatic, and well-spoken, qualities that helped him gain the trust of women across the United States. Throughout the 1970s, Bundy embarked on a killing spree that stretched across multiple states, including Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. He would often feign injury, wearing a sling or a cast, then ask women for help loading or carrying items. Once they were vulnerable, he struck. Bundy's notoriety was not just in his killings, but in his cunning ability to evade justice. He was arrested multiple times, yet escaped prison twice, once by leaping from a courthouse library window, and later by slipping through a ceiling vent in his jail cell. Both times he resumed killing shortly afterward. His most infamous crime spree took place in Florida in 1978, when he attacked a sorority house at Florida State University, leaving a trail of devastation. Bundy's trial was one of the first to be nationally televised, turning him into a macabre celebrity. Women crowded the courtroom, fascinated by his looks and composure, a chilling testament to his manipulative charm. In 1989, Bundy was executed in the electric chair. His legacy is one of terror, deception, and unanswered questions, with investigators believing his true victim count may never be known. Number 8. Jeffrey Dahmer. The Milwaukee Cannibal. Confirmed deaths, 17. Region, United States. Jeffrey Dahmer's name evokes horror like few others. Born in 1960, Dahmer showed disturbing tendencies from an early age, including a fascination with dead animals. As he grew older, these impulses escalated into acts of violence and murder. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer killed 17 men and boys, many of whom were lured to his apartment with promises of money, alcohol, or companionship. What set Dahmer apart was the disturbing intimacy of his crimes. While details of his actions are too gruesome to recount in full, the essence of his depravity was his compulsion to control his victims completely, even after death. For years, Dahmer managed to evade suspicion. Neighbors reported strange smells and noises from his apartment, but he explained them away with excuses. It wasn't until 1991, when a potential victim escaped and flagged down police, that the truth came to light. Inside Dahmer's apartment, investigators discovered one of the most disturbing crime scenes in American history. The revelations shocked the world and raised questions about how he had gone unnoticed for so long. Dahmer was sentenced to multiple life terms in prison, where he was killed by another inmate in 1994. His name has since become synonymous with horror hidden in plain sight, a reminder that sometimes the darkest monsters live quietly among us. Number 7. Richard Ramirez. The Night Stalker. Confirmed deaths, 13, plus dozens of assaults and burglaries. Region, United States. In the summer of 1984, Southern California was struck by a wave of terror. Richard Ramirez, later known as the Night Stalker, prowled neighborhoods at night, breaking into homes and attacking victims at random. What made Ramirez so terrifying was his unpredictability. Unlike most serial killers, He had no clear victim type. He attacked men, women, and children of different ages and backgrounds, using guns, knives, and even blunt objects. This randomness spread fear throughout Los Angeles. No one felt safe, no matter who they were. Ramirez's crimes weren't just physical, he reveled in psychological terror. At crime scenes, he left satanic symbols, taunted survivors, and in court, flashed a chilling grin. His fascination with Satanism and his lack of remorse created an image of pure menace. The breakthrough came when a fingerprint left in a stolen car tied him to the murders. In August 1985, a group of citizens in East Los Angeles recognized him and chased him down, holding him until police arrived. At his trial, Ramirez remained defiant, famously declaring, "Hail Satan." He was sentenced to death but died of cancer in prison in 2013. To this day, the name Night Stalker conjures the image of a killer who thrived on chaos and fear. Number 6. Jack the Ripper, confirmed deaths 5, suspected 11 plus. Region, United Kingdom. No serial killer is more legendary or more mysterious than Jack the Ripper. In 1888, London's Whitechapel district was plagued by poverty, crime, and overcrowding. It was here that the Ripper struck. Between August and November of that year, at least 5 women were brutally murdered. The press sensationalized the killings, giving the unknown killer his infamous name. The details of the crimes shocked Victorian society, not only for their violence, but for the killer's apparent knowledge of anatomy. Letters claiming to be from the Ripper taunted police and newspapers. Some signed "From Hell." Whether authentic or not, they fueled the panic. Ordinary citizens lived in fear, while investigators struggled with limited forensic tools. Despite massive public pressure and hundreds of suspects, the Ripper was never caught. Theories about his identity ranged from a local butcher to a royal conspiracy, but none have been definitively proven. More than a century later, Jack the Ripper remains an enduring mystery, a phantom who vanished as suddenly as he appeared, leaving behind unanswered questions and a legend that continues to haunt the world. Number 5. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, confirmed deaths 49, suspected 70 plus. Region, United States. For 2 decades, Seattle lived in fear of a predator who seemed to vanish like smoke after each attack. Gary Ridgway, a truck painter by trade, was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. His crimes began in the early 1980s. Ridgway targeted vulnerable women, often runaways or sex workers. He would pick them up, sometimes offering money or a ride, before strangling them. Their bodies were discarded near the Green River, earning him his Notorious nickname. The scale of the killings overwhelmed investigators. Dozens of women disappeared, their remains discovered in wooded areas or riverbanks. Ridgway taunted police with his ability to avoid capture. For years, authorities had little more than a growing list of missing persons and bodies. The breakthrough came in 2001, when advances in DNA testing finally connected him to several victims. Confronted with the evidence, Ridgway confessed, not with remorse, but with chilling indifference. He admitted to killing so many women that he sometimes forgot their names. In 2003, Ridgway struck a deal to avoid the death penalty by confessing to as many murders as he could recall. He was sentenced to life without parole, with 49 confirmed murders and suspicions of many more. He remains one of the deadliest serial killers in modern history, a man who turned vulnerability into opportunity and opportunity into horror. Number 4, David Berkowitz, son of Sam, confirmed deaths 6, wounded 7. Region, United States. New York City in 1976 was already tense. plagued by financial crisis and crime. But that summer, an unseen predator turned fear into panic. David Berkowitz, later dubbed the Son of Sam, prowled the city streets armed with a 44 caliber revolver. Berkowitz's victims were often young couples parked in cars or women walking alone. His attacks were sudden and brutal, leaving survivors and bystanders terrified. New Yorkers lived in constant fear. Women cut their hair short or dyed it blonde, hoping to avoid fitting the killer's apparent type. What made the case infamous was Berkowitz's communication with the press and police. He sent taunting letters, signing himself the Son of Sam, claiming he was commanded to kill by a demon that spoke through his neighbor's dog. These bizarre confessions only heightened the public hysteria. The city's nightlife emptied, and police were under immense pressure to capture him. In 1977, Berkowitz was arrested after a parking ticket near one of the crime scenes led investigators to his car. Inside, they found his gun and letters. Berkowitz confessed without hesitation, cementing his place in history as one of New York's most notorious killers. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he later claimed to have found religion. Yet for many, he remains forever the Son of Sam, the man who held New York hostage with fear. We are now moving on to the top 3 of the list. If you have made it this far, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to Vault of 15. Number 3. Charles Sobhraj, the Serpent. Confirmed deaths, at least 12. Region, Southeast Asia. Charles Sobhraj was unlike the brutal killers who came before him. His weapon was not raw violence, but charm, intelligence, and manipulation. Active in the 1970s, he targeted Western tourists traveling the so-called hippie trail through Thailand, Nepal, and India. Born to a Vietnamese mother and Indian father, Sobhraj grew up in Paris, where he developed a taste for crime and deception. By the time he reached Asia, he had perfected the art of seduction and control. He befriended young travelers, often offering them a place to stay, drugs, or companionship. But once they were under his influence, he poisoned, strangled, or drowned them, sometimes stealing their passports and identities. His crimes were cunningly concealed. He often posed as a gem dealer or friendly guide, making victims disappear without suspicion. His ability to slip through police hands earned him the nickname the Serpent. Sobhraj was finally caught in 1976 in India, but even behind bars he remained manipulative. He staged a prison escape in 1986, deliberately recaptured to extend his sentence, ensuring he could avoid extradition to Thailand, where he faced the death penalty. Eventually, in the 2000s, he was arrested again and sentenced to life in Nepal. His story became the subject of books, documentaries, and a Netflix series. Charles Sobhraj's legacy is one of cold calculation, proving that not all killers rely on brute force. Some rely on deception so perfect it becomes a weapon. Number 2. Dennis Rader, BTK Killer. Confirmed deaths, 10. Region, United States. Bind, torture, kill. These 3 words define the chilling signature of Dennis Rader, who terrorized Wichita, Kansas, for decades. From 1974 to 1991, Rader murdered 10 people, targeting families and individuals in their own homes. His crimes were methodical, carefully planned, and executed with cold precision. What made Rader especially terrifying was his desire for recognition. He taunted police and the press with letters detailing his crimes, signing them BTK for years. Investigators searched desperately for him, but Rader seemed to vanish. He blended seamlessly into his community, serving as president of his church council and working as a compliance officer. To neighbors, he was a devoted husband and father, To his victims, he was a monster. The case went cold until 2005, when Rader reignited his communication with police. This time, technology caught up with him. A computer disk he sent to the media was traced back to his church. Shockingly, the beloved community leader was unmasked as the BTK Killer. At trial, Rader showed chilling pride in his crimes, recounting them in detail with little emotion. He was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. His double life, family man by day, sadistic killer by night, remains one of the most disturbing contrasts in criminal history. Number 1. H. Holmes, the Devil in the White City. Confirmed deaths, 9. Suspected 200 plus. Region, United States. Long before Bundy or Dahmer, there was H. Holmes, America's first widely known serial killer. Born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861, Holmes was a con artist, fraudster, and eventually a murderer. But it was during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair that his legend took root. Holmes constructed what became known as the Murder Castle, a hotel designed not for comfort, but for death. The building was a labyrinth of hidden rooms, secret passageways, soundproof chambers, and trapdoors. Guests checked in, but many never checked out. Holmes lured his victims with charm and opportunity, offering work or lodging to visitors drawn to the fair. Once inside his castle, they were trapped in his sadistic design. Though only 9 murders were confirmed, investigators believed the true number could be well into the hundreds. Holmes's downfall came not from murder, but from fraud. When his insurance schemes unraveled, police discovered the horrifying truth about his hotel. In 1896, Holmes was executed by hanging. His story shocked the world and earned him the nickname, the Devil in the White City. Today, Holmes's tale endures as both a historical warning and a chilling legend, blending fact with myth. His murder castle remains one of the most macabre settings in true crime history. And there you have it, the 15 most notorious serial killers in history. These figures left behind scars that still linger today. Lessons in vigilance, justice, and the darkest capabilities of the human mind. Some killed for power, others for control, and some for reasons we may never fully understand. But what they all share is the lasting terror their names inspire. Thank you for watching this episode of Vault of 15. Be sure to subscribe for more true crime, history, and chilling top 15 lists. And remember, truth is in the list.